Okay, in this lecture video, we're going to start talking about the language of chemistry, which is both symbolic, and we've already talked about that a little bit with our elements and the periodic table and our elemental symbols, and it's mathematical. And that's where we're headed now. So when we talk about chemistry being mathematical, we talk about it in the fact that it's a field of science, so we make a lot of measurements. And these measurements that we make give us insight to what's going on with the atoms and the compounds at the microscopic level. So in order to study all the different parts of matter, because remember, that's what chemists do, we need to try and connect observations that we make in the lab, which is the macroscopic world. We have to connect those measurements to what's going on with the atoms or in the atomic world. So that's at the microscopic level, and quite frankly, even smaller. So we make measurements in the lab so that we can take our macroscopic observations and figure out what's going on at the microscopic level. So this language of chemistry then is based on both observations that we make in lab and measurements. So the observations that we make are qualitative in nature. So that means they're descriptive. So we talk about with words what we see going on. So for example, that could be the colors of things or the changes in colors, smells that we see, appearances or how they change during a chemical process. So those are qualitative observations that we can make. Measurements, on the other hand, are quantitative in nature. So that means there's a number associated with it. So that could be things like length, it could be volume, it could be mass, temperature, density even. And these measurements it's important to note that they always are a number and they always have a unit. You need both of these values to be meaningful. So for example, if I told you I weighed 120, it'd make a pretty big difference as I was talking about 120 pounds or 120 kilograms. Now, I'd also be lying, but we're not going to talk about that. Okay, so we're going to be talking in this unit about quantitative measurements, about numbers and units.